I love taking things that people think can't be successful and making them successful. That's what I love to do.
On Vivek Ramaswamy's podcast, because everyone has a podcast, Dana White skirted truthfulness on the business of the UFC.
Do you pay people more based on how well they're doing in the job? Like, do you have systems to sort of say, who do you reward for actually doing a good job?
Yeah, there's base salaries, right? You got your base salary or whatever your deal is. And then at the end of the year, there's bonuses. We bonus people for their work. I don't know if I have one employee that isn't like literally a rock star, man. I mean, everybody.
Good.
Vivek allows White to just gloss over his business with zero pushback. More in a moment.
Now, the fighters are not employees, right? They're kind of
independent
partners,
contractors.
Contractors.
Independent contractors.
How do you decide? You still decide how much they're paid, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you think about that?
So the way that it works is, there's a, I guess you'd call it a standard level of pay. And depending on who you are and how you make it, how you climb up the ladder. So what happens is when you become a world champion, you become a partner.
Okay.
So when you got the belt, you share in the pay-per-view revenue.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So when you can actually become effectively a revenue partner in the
100%.
business after you work your way into that.
Once you win the title, you become a
I don't know
partner.
if there's another professional sport that I think actually does that. It's true. I can't. Football doesn't. Basketball doesn't. Baseball
boxing
doesn't.
does.
Boxing. Okay. Okay. All right.
Boxing does.
But those are one-time matches. But it's different here where it actually has permanent enterprise value.
And whoever is the champion in boxing, you get the lion's share of the revenue. Here, it's dispersed across everybody. So the money is dispersed.
Yeah.
Guys that would be considered journeymen in boxing never make that kind of money, ever.
Yeah. What do you think is different about this? It's more that it's not a one-time deal. It's the fact that it keeps going.
No, it's because what we do is
the brand.
we focus on building great fights with great fighters.
Yeah.
And if you can stay here for a certain amount of time, you make really good money. You know, you can support your family. You can pay your house off. You can, you're not going to be, you're not going to have $30-40 million, but you'll have $6, $7, $8 million.
And for people who, many of whom may not have had that path.
And most people wouldn't even know who he was.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
There is a reason he did not reveal his hand here on the topic of fighter pay. Let's go over it. He used the example of Jim Miller, a 40-year-old, who per White has made millions. Though it should be noted, it took Miller fighting 46 times to make those millions, which in the grand scheme of the UFC's capitalistic-driven business, small potatoes and bonuses and guaranteed pay eventually led to that. On top of this, Nick Baldwin, MMA editor at The Score, sarcastically labeled Vivek that interviewer, but ultimately the point stands. Ramaswamy's inability to correct White on the pay-per-view point system. Long and short, the rev split is atrocious. Something we have covered in the past as well. From Mark Raimondi, the UFC pays fighters around 20% of its revenue, according to data unearthed during the ongoing antitrust lawsuit brought by some former fighters against the promotion. Other major sports leagues like the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball share around half of their revenue with players. So here's the thing, okay? While that is up from years past of 10 to 18-ish%, it's still very low, an incredibly low sum, considering what White, the Fertittas, and others have made or currently make at the top, in comparison to those taking the hits, literally. And what are they fighting? Unionization.
He's a Trump dictator guy, and he doesn't have any use for unions or fairness or anything else. He just wants his money.
And it is something White has made his calling card, to fight tooth and nail. Fighters, he would say, always want to make more money. Boxing has absolutely been destroyed because of money and all the things that go on. It's never going to happen while I'm here. Believe me, these guys get paid what they're supposed to get paid. They eat what they kill. They get a percentage of the pay-per-view buys, and the money is spread out amongst all the fighters. Hang on. Hold. Boxing is ruined because of the money? No. I would actually make the point that boxing has benefited from the money. And you know what examples I can point to? Francis Ngannou made more in that fight than he did within his time with you, Dana. How about Nate Diaz? He fought Jake Paul, made a ton. How about Conor McGregor? There is no argument. It is a BS line that he is putting forth for all of the fans that they have and he has to say, oh, Dana, oh, you're so good, Dana. And for them to lick his chops to say, what a genius businessman, when really it is the cut and dry example, much like Amazon and other billion-dollar companies. It's us at the top. Let's make as much as we possibly can while leaving the smallest little slice of the pie for those that are sacrificing themselves for us to make that amount. That's exactly what's going on here. He would also say this: if you don't like it, there's a simple solution to this problem. Go start your own MMA organization. No barrier to entry. Knock yourself out. Pay him whatever you want to pay him. It's been done before. How has it worked out for other guys? Not well. Mind your business. No, this is an intimidation tactic, and the reason why he has put on people as the stars of MMA media and being promoted heavily across their social media platforms who offer zero pushback. It should not be the media's job to... I was going to say many terrible things. It should not be the media's job to suck up to Dana White. It just isn't. The best media is a watchdog media and shares a perspective through an objective lens and asks the hard questions. This whole mind your business quote that he has is insane. That's insane. But, and I will say this, as much as we may despise Jake Paul and Jake Paul's politics, okay, there is one thing that he is fighting for that everybody should get on board with, and he said it on First Take.
This is about the fighters. I want to create a fighters union. This is my goal, is to really impact the whole entire sport, both MMA and boxing, and leave an everlasting stamp. And I just so happen to not be beholden to anybody. A lot of these UFC fighters are beholden to Dana White. They can't speak out against him. So I'm using my platform because I'm one of the very few people who actually can. And I'll say whatever. I'll speak the truth. So I'm just doing what, my responsibility is as a fighter and as someone who cares about other fighters.
Much like the WWE, which, by the way, the UFC and WWE are under the TKO umbrella with Ari Emanuel, Endeavor, what have you. They are union busters. I can do another clip on Jesse the Body Ventura. He told a story about he was in an elevator and the late Gene Upshaw walks in. They say hello, and as the doors are ready to open for Upshaw to get off, he says, "You boys need to unionize." Ventura tried. He rallied the troops. There was one person who ratted him out, according to the man himself, Jesse the Body Ventura, former governor of Minnesota, and that was Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan told Vince about all of this. We could do a clip on it if you like. In the grand scheme, it's simply this. The big driver behind current unionization efforts is the hefty price tag on the UFC. Selling for $4 billion gave a concrete value by which fighters could judge their worth, and for many, the math doesn't add up. This is all via MMA fighting. Much of the UFC bookkeeping isn't publicly available, but some estimates put the fighters collectively earning only 15% of UFC revenue, a big difference from the 50% earned by athletes in many other major sports leagues.